This past year, major news outlets turned their attention to systems of harassment and discrimination and retaliation. Yes, there's been a lot of stories about individual perpetrators, but really it's about the systems that are in place that have allowed this behavior to go on for so long at major media companies. For much of the year, the Eye was on CBS, the Eye network. The network saw CEO Les Moonves accused of sexual harassment and assault by numerous women in a pair of stories in the New Yorker. In September, Moonves stepped down under pressure. CBS had 2 law firms come in and review what went wrong. And earlier this month, based on that law firm review, the board said Moonves would not receive his $120 million severance package. There may be more to come on that story, but this is about a lot more than Moonves. It's about a lot more than just CBS. With me now are 3 of the award-winning reporters who have been leading the way in this coverage. Irin Carmon is a senior correspondent for New York Magazine and a CNN contributor. Ronan Farrow is an investigative reporter for The New Yorker. And Rachel Abrams is a business reporter for The New York Times. You know, all 3 of you have been reporting on CBS for the past year. I wonder, as rivals, do you all feel like you're competitive, or do you feel like what you do is complementary? Irin, first for you. You wrote about Charlie Rose more than a year ago at this point.
To me, my commitment to this story is seeing the truth come out. And we were just talking about how there's a real sense of camaraderie among the reporters. Of course, you got to compete for scoops. You're accountable to your publication for breaking stories, to your editors. But ultimately, this is about something bigger than an individual reporter getting the glory. It's about exposing what happened, bringing it to light in the most accurate and balanced way possible.
And Ronan, you now have a reputation, because you're Harvey Weinstein reporting, for doing this dogged work that takes months. What is it like to be
to you? It is true also some people immediately hang up on you because of that reputation, and you navigate those things. And I would echo what Irin said. There's a real sense of all of us doing this kind of tough investigative reporting that we're in this fight together. If you look at those early Les Moonves stories that I did, they actually have a big shout out to Irin's work and further attempts that she and a colleague made at the Post to get more information out where they were forestalled by a lot of sort of dirty tactics. So I think we have each other's backs in this to an extent, even though we also are competitive.
And Rachel, why did you decide to start looking into CBS? This was after the first Moonves story came out by Farrow in The New Yorker. Why were you curious about this?
Well, our editors were really interested in how seriously CBS was taking its own investigation into allegations of misconduct, both by Les Moonves and also just broader cultural problems at the network. And so that really got the ball rolling on just finding out a lot more about what the investigators had uncovered, in large part prompted by the stories in The New Yorker and in The Washington Post.
So it's a sense of stories building on one another, and a sense of momentum as a result. It does seem like there's this rot inside CBS. Is that fair to say?
Well, you know, after Amy Britton and I did the Charlie Rose story at the Washington Post about a year ago, we also wanted to follow up about CBS. What did people know? And that's when you find out that it's not just about the individual behavior of one person, right? It's about a system that enables that behavior, a star system that says that if this person is a rainmaker, then they can behave in whatever way they want, that people look the other way. A series of mechanisms that keep people silent from speaking up. And so I think it's not just, there's a tendency, I think, okay, somebody really high profile got fired, we're going to move on. And that's why I think that the last year's reporting is so significant, because rather than just say, okay, you know, here's this big fish who's gone down in a very high profile way, you're trying to understand what is the culture that leads this to happen. And our reporting showed that the culture at CBS did in fact lead to silence, or in the words of one of the women that we spoke to for the second Washington Post story, she said, I'd been there long enough to know that people did what they wanted to you and they said what they wanted to you. And that's why she said she didn't report Charlie Rose sexually harassing her, because of that culture.
In the midst of the Harvey Weinstein story, it was always very clear to me that this wasn't about Harvey Weinstein, it wasn't even about Hollywood, this was about systems deployed by very powerful, very wealthy people to suppress these kinds of allegations against them. And therefore, when I looked at the array of potential leads to follow up on, what was distinctive about CBS and Moonves was that it was a story about corporate accountability and those vast systems, as you say, informing a kind of rot in the eyes of dozens and dozens of sources we talked to. Now, all of us face a lot of pressure in these tough stories to carve off different elements and just focus on one guy, because it is so hard just to do that. but it was really important in that reporting that I kept in that 60 Minutes material, that I paid tribute to the other reporters who had talked about a broader cultural problem there.